You know how many addictions there are right now in this world? Hold on. Shh. I want you, simply don't start talking. I just want you to raise your hand about what would be some addictions. Don't just start yelling. I'm going to call on you very gently. Yes. Drugs. Oh, everybody's hand went down. Yeah. Video games. Alcohol. Phones. TV. Food. Coffee. No. No. Coffee's awesome. No, you're right, though. You can be addicted. Okay. Huh? Money. Sugar. You guys, for the record, you guys, sugar is like the greatest, is not the greatest, the worst drug to ever be introduced to humanity. We can talk about that along a different time. But go on, keep going. Pornography. Social media. Power. You're right.
That's Donald Trump.
What? Material wealth. Material wealth. Sex. Isolation. Yeah, absolutely. Sleeping. What? Gambling. Yeah, you're right, man. There's a kid I taught at St. Mary's High School. He had 250 pairs of sneakers. That's a problem, man. Why are you clapping? Okay, shh. I want it. Hold on. Shut up! I want to keep going. Spinner says he's playing with one. Cigarettes. Memes. Money. Yeah, good. Okay, so can we all agree on something right now? Shh. Hey, fellas, can we agree on something? That there is a lot of danger out there. Okay. They're doing studies right now on social media that social media is literally killing people. Like they're losing themselves. So the question is, you sit back and like, I only do a little bit, I only dabble. When we talked about dabbling with stuff, yeah, it's a problem, man. Shh. And what kind of man do you want to be? How do you want to be remembered? Here's the thing about isolation. There's a guy, his name is Father Candido. And he passed away. He was a priest in Italy. And his kind of apprentice was Father Gabriel Amorth. Father Gabriel Amorth is the head exorcist of Rome. Okay? Father Candido was his kind of teacher. When they were doing an exorcism together, they asked the demon a question, because they're always trying to learn stuff about the demonic, how it acts, so they can overcome it. And so they asked this demon, they said, okay, here's the situation. There's two guys. They hate each other. Okay? They gossip about each other. They ruin each other's lives. They do everything they can to hurt one another, and then they both die. Will they hate each other in hell for all eternity? Answer us in the name of Jesus Christ. Now listen to what the demon said. This was amazing when I read it. He said, how stupid you are. Down here, everyone lives folded in on himself, torn apart by regrets. There is no relationship with anyone. Everyone finds themselves in the most profound solitude and desperately weeps for the evil that they have committed. Hell is like a cemetery. Now you think about, when we talk about heaven and hell, if we're created for relationship, then that means that heaven is the fulfillment of relationship because you are in relation with God for all eternity. Hell, therefore, is the absence of relationship. So your whole life, you're like this. It's all about me. It's all about me. It's all about me. It's all about me. And at the end of your life, the Lord is sitting there and saying, no, come to heaven. You say, it's all about me. And you turn and walk away, and for all eternity, it will be all about you and you alone. Now, when I think about hell, that freaks me out. To be alone for all eternity. And the only thing that you can remember is your regrets. Everything that you did that hurt people, all the wrong, all the pain, and you relive it over and over and over. You guys, we don't think enough about all this stuff. If we did, we'd make a lot more better decisions. I heard this story about 2 years ago. I don't know if any of you know Father Mike Schmitz. If you don't, you really should look up his podcast. He's an unbelievable guy. Great. He's a good friend. And he talked about this guy who was in the Fujian province of China, where religion is outlawed. And this guy, the only reason I tell you this is to show, when I'm talking about all these addictions, I want to show you how dangerous our society is. So this guy was in the Fujian province in China, and he was a good man. He was the one that he put together the underground church. And so he'd get everybody together. They'd have mass in his house secretively, because if they get caught, they're all dead, or at least tortured brutally. And he organized the whole thing. And it went on for like 2-3 months. It was great. And then all of a sudden, finally, the authorities found out where he was. He managed to get everybody out of his house, but he alone was arrested. They tortured him for 30 straight days. Every day, they would shock him with a cattle prod until he passed out, scarring him, burning him, and as soon as he'd wake up, if he wouldn't tell them what they wanted to know, they would continue to shock him. And all he had to do was say where the priest was. That's it. And he wouldn't do it. After 30 days, they said, you know what, we're not breaking this guy, let him go. He got released and immediately jumped a boat and got to America. When he got to America, he got a job. Started working. He was amazed. He's like, man, they got Eucharistic adoration. Like, right over here, man, we got Eucharistic adoration, perpetual adoration. You can go whenever you want, and you don't have to worry about getting your head cut off. It's right there. And he would go to daily Mass, and he went to Sunday Mass, and he'd pray Eucharistic adoration. He was amazed at all this stuff. And then as he was working, he got a promotion. They said, hey, we want you to work more, but you got to come in earlier. And he's like, all right, man, because he wanted money, right? Got to get money, got to get things. And so he gave up going to daily Mass. But he's still going to Eucharistic adoration when he got off work. He was still going to Sunday Mass. In about a year, he got another promotion. They said, we need you to stay later. And if you do this, you can get the next promotion, which is the big money. So he stayed later, gave up Eucharistic adoration. He still went to Sunday Mass. Continued to work his way up the ladder, make more money, get more things. In 3 years, he became an atheist. What communist China could not do to this guy through torture, our society did without even trying. That is the danger. I love what Father Brian said today in his homily. He was talking about St. Clair. He said, when we have too much, we lose the faith. You guys, every one of us every one of you in here, everyone is living better than the kings of old. I'm not talking the poor people of old, the middle class of old, even the senators of old. I am talking the kings of Egypt, or the pharaohs of Egypt, the kings of the Carolingian Empire, the Germanic kings, the Caesars of Rome. And you know why? Because you have a friggin' toilet. Seriously. They would have killed for a toilet, indoor plumbing. And then you know what else you have? You got heating and air conditioning. Unbelievable. You got a bed. Even if you don't have a bed, you have a floor, you have a roof over your head. We have so much. And all we do is complain about what we don't have. We're the most spoiled country in the world. It's no wonder people love America, but they hate Americans. We should be the most grateful people in the world because of all that we have. Instead, all we do is complain. And so, you guys, I want to give you 3 fights. I want you to get into. Most people, they say, be good, be nice. Now I'm going to tell you, get in a fight. I've been in 8 fights in my life. Never threw a single punch. Got hit 8 times. Because most of the time, I was the only one that I really deserved. Most of the time, I was just trying to break fights up. Because I think they're stupid. I mean, sometimes, a guy needs it or whatever. And it shouldn't be too terrible. But the one time I deserved it. So the NDSU quarterback, I went to North Dakota State. So Carson Wentz, that's where he played, That's the only reason people know what Fargo is anymore. But I was there, and I was working at this bar. And we had a Christmas party, and one of the waitresses, she was dating the quarterback of the NDSU football team. And he came up, and we had this big, huge thing, like sign up, and it was kind of a big bracket it was a pool tournament. And the first one was me and my buddy Justin Simpson, and against the quarterback and his lineman. And so the guy comes up, and I'm a little bit of a trash talker, whatever. And so he's sitting there, and he breaks, and he breaks. It's like one of the worst breaks I've ever seen. And I'm like, man, if your pool game's anything like your football game, we got this in the bag. And I didn't know that the night before he had thrown 4 interceptions. And so his lineman, who's like, I don't know, 6'10", 400 pounds, he's like, why you gotta talk about football? And I'm like, I don't know, dude. I was just making fun of him. And that was kind of it, right? I got a little freaked out. I was like, these are big guys. I should have just shut my mouth. Well, we ended up winning that game. And I was sitting at the bar, and I was getting a beer. And all of a sudden, I felt a tap on my shoulder. Turn around. Just dropped me. Just dropped me to the ground. And I stood up, and I was like, go to pull back, and his lineman steps right in front and grabs me by the throat. And I was just like, well, this is pointless. But most of the time, so that's the only time I really just got decked. And I probably deserved it. But anyway, I don't want you to get in fights like that. I want you to fight for a few things. The first one I want you to fight is for masculinity. Okay? I want you to fight for masculinity. How do you do that? The first way I would say this. You guys, right now, according to statistics, 75% of this room is looking at pornography. It's just the way it is. 75%. I remember I was down in San Antonio at the SEED conference. I don't know if you guys know what that is. The SEED conference is like a bunch of college kids that go to this conference. And there were 7,000 men. So it was a breakout session like this. 7,000 men. And Matt Fradd, who is a speaker, an anti-pornography speaker, he said, raise your hand, gentlemen, if you have never seen pornography. And 3 hands went up out of 7,000. And he said to him, I love Matt. He's like, okay, and those 3 guys are lying. So all of you, right, in some form or another, unfortunately, have seen it. What are you doing to fight back against it? That's the real question, fellas. Like a filter? Yeah, man. Good. Put a filter on your phone. It's unbelievable. If you have an iPhone, you can actually lock out the internet on it. Don't be afraid to do that, man. It's better to not have internet on your phone and be an integrated human being than to have phone and be a porn addict. You guys, I don't know if you realize how bad this addiction is. This addiction is terrible. There are guys, they just wrote an article in Time magazine, guys that are 23, 24 years old, and they have masturbated so much to pornography, they cannot get an erection anymore. They're impotent at 23 years old. That, you guys, that is an honest-to-God fact. There was another guy they did in this article. He could not be turned on, aroused, by his wife naked, but he could by pornographic images. No, you all sit back and you're like, oh, can you believe it? Oh, can you believe it? It's everywhere, man. And every single person is susceptible to this sin. So I'm asking you, begging you, get filters on your phones. Lock the internet out if you have to. I don't care what you have to do. But we got to start fighting back against it. This is huge, you guys. It's huge. Jesus said, as I said earlier, he says, if it causes you to sin, cut it off. Get rid of it. I want to read this to you really quick, if you'll allow me. Because I think, we've kind of domesticated Jesus, made it boring. There was no more real man than the Lord. I just want to read this to you. It came to me in prayer one time. It's not that long. This is how I describe the Lord. He was hard yet compassionate, strong but loving. He wouldn't let those who followed him be anything less than perfect. He could call the Pharisees their hypocrisy and yet forgive the most wicked person if they truly desired forgiveness. He gave hope to those who were hopeless. He loved the unlovable. He never backed down from what he said, even when people thought he was crazy and wanted to kill him. He protected women when others tried to hurt them. He calmed storms. He healed those who were crippled. He fought the devil on his terms and never backed down from a fight when it was for the truth. When they came looking for him in the garden, he didn't hide in fear. When 200 armed guards came looking for him, he went out and faced them and said, "Who are you looking for?" He looked a Roman governor in the face and told him he had no power. He was beaten with leather whips laced with glass and metal to the point of death, crowned with thorns and pierced his skull. He was falsely accused and mocked, spit upon, and made to carry a cross to his own death, where he hung naked, so disfigured that he could barely make out who he was. And in that moment, he forgave those who killed him. He never thought about anybody but others. You guys, I don't know if you get any more masculine than that. I don't know. When I hear that, I'm like, that's a guy I want to be like. We got to fight for that type of masculinity. Second, oh, by the way, this is great. To not fight for what is true, good, and beautiful, to back down from stuff for just to be popular, we have a word for that in the Catholic faith. You know what that word is? It's pusillanimous. No, everybody sits back and they're like, oh, that's funny, hey. No, it's a real word. Actually, the way you say it is pusillanimous, but I'm trying to make a point. To not be a man, to not stand up for the truth, to be an idiot. It's weak, fellas. It's weak. It's time to start changing. Second, you got to fight for women. We talked a little bit about this already. Clean up your language. JP2, St. John Paul II said, the dignity of every woman is entrusted to every man. Do you really believe that? Do you really believe that the dignity of every woman is entrusted to every man? Because it's easy, you guys. It's easy for guys to take advantage of girls. It doesn't say, there's nothing new with that. What's not easy, what's hard, is to stand up and protect women. To be like Charlie, which I told you earlier. There was a guy I taught, his name was Luke Scott. He was one of the top basketball players at the university I was at. He was a good man. No. And he went to pick up this girl. And this girl was extremely beautiful. He's a good dude. And he walked up to the door. She came out. She was wearing this tight mini skirt, looking all sexy. And the first thing he said to her is he said, I can't take you out tonight if you're going to wear that. And she said, when I talked to her about this, she said, I just started crying. Not because I felt bad, but she said, finally, this was a man who was more interested in me as a person than how I looked. She's like, you know how freeing that was for me? That's a man. Third, I need you to fight for real relationships, man. Get rid of all this stuff. All these fake relationships, all the social media, all of that. When I was down in Mexico, I learned this. I'm going to close with this. Because relationship, I believe, is the most important thing, and I think it's the thing your generation is being robbed of the most. When I was down in Mexico, I had this time I was going to go out salsa dancing with 8 girls. Yeah, it was wonderful. They wanted to teach me how to salsa dance. I'm like, okay. 8 beautiful women want to take me dancing. And as we said, so I was there, and of course, they were late because they're women. And no, it's true. No, it's just
They gotta dress up.
Listen. Sometimes the truth hurts. Hold on. So I'm sitting there. I'm sitting there, and I'm waiting. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this little girl comes up to me. She has a piece of cardboard, and on it are these friendship bracelets. And she comes up and she's like, "Hey, will you buy a friendship bracelet?" And I'm like, "No." I'm like, and I push her. I'm like, "Get away from me." Yeah, I was a jerk, okay? Get over it. We all have times we have to grow through. So I'm sitting there, and I'm waiting, and all of a sudden she comes, and like I'm sitting from behind me, she like throws it right in front of my face, and she's like, "Please," and I'm like, "No," I'm like, "Get out of here." So finally I'm sitting, I'm looking, because I think I see them coming, it's not them, but I'm looking this way, and all of a sudden I feel somebody sit down next to me, and she like lays across my lap, and she's like, "Please." And I'm like, you know what? At that point, even my heart cracked a little bit. I'm like, all right. I'm like, here's a peso. And she's like, no, you have to pick one. I'm like, I don't want one. Like, they were the worst friendship bracelets I've ever seen in my life. Like, how can you screw up tying string together? And this poor little girl, she did. And so she's like, no, you have to pick one. I'm like, I don't want one. She's like, well, then we have to play a game. I'm like, okay, what's the game? She's like, heads or tails? I'm like, great. Okay, you ready? So I flick the thing in the air, catch it, throw it. She's like, heads. And I'm like, no, tails. Okay, we're done. She's like, no, otra vez. And I'm like, oh. So I flip it. She starts winning. I'm like, hey, it's kind of fun, you know? Like I said, yeah. So I start grabbing my pocket, I'm flipping. I go and get more change. And all of a sudden, her little brother comes over. I didn't even see him. He's even smaller. He's like, I want to play. And I'm like, okay. And this was, dude, I am telling you, this was the worst heads or tails player I've ever met in my life. Like, all you got to do is just keep saying heads, and eventually you're going to win. You know, he lost. There was one point when the girl's, like, holding all this money. And he's like, and I'm like, dude, this is my last peso. Like, you have to win this. And he's like, okay. I'm like, you ready? He's like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm like, here we go. And I just was like, I threw it as high as I could. And he's like, and I'm like, call it. And he's like, yes. And it hits it, bounces, and it lands in its head. And he grabs it, and he like makes a victory lap around the piazza. Like, he's like, yeah. And his sister's like, oh, all this money. So at the end, he finally got back from his huge victory lap. And I'm like, I'm really feeling kind of good for my, like, hey, I'm kind of doing a good thing. I'm like, hey, you guys want to go get ice cream? I'll buy you ice cream. And they're like, yeah, And they're like, wait a second. And I'm like, what? And they're like, hold on. And they ran, and over in the corner, I didn't see her, but their mom was just in like tattered rags. And they took all the money and threw it on her and came running back to me. And in that moment, you guys, I learned something. They didn't care about the money. All they wanted was to be by me. They wanted time with me. They wanted my love, my care, my affection. They didn't want money. We've got to fight for relationships. We've got to fight for what's true, good, and beautiful. You guys, I'm begging you. There's a lot of things that are going to be presented to you in the upcoming years. Knock it off. Oh, we eventually went. Yeah, we went dancing. It was great. All the guys in the club were really pissed. But there's going to be a lot of things that come at you guys. A lot of things. I'm asking you just think through it and make good choices. Okay? In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit. As it was in the beginning, is now, and shall be, world without end. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.